We're Sid and Mackie, and we're professional mountain bikers on a quest to race the best and most challenging mountain bike races around the world. For most of our career, we raced enduro, which is a downhill discipline that favors high power and sprinting ability. Over the last few years, we've transitioned to racing a little bit of everything, and that exposed some weaknesses. Or rather, one big weakness for both of us: going uphill.
As usual, he dropped me on the climb.
If we're going to progress our cross-country mountain bike racing, it's time to get serious. We're going to have to make some changes.
Tough love time. Tell us what we need to do to get faster.
But change is hard. Are we up for it?
So why do you look so miserable?
What would that actually require?
Not promising that we're gonna do it. At the end of the season, a couple months ago, we got on the phone with Coach Mike and we said, tough love time. Tell us what we need to do to get faster. Here's where we are. We're pleased that we've made it here, but we want to be here. What do we need to do?
What would that actually require?
Not promising that we're gonna do it.
This was right after single track 6. This was coming after Mackie. You were second to Carter 6 days in a row. Clearly that stung a little bit.
I want to be riding like that.
So that was the question.
Here's where I am. There's where I want to be. What do I need to do?
Yeah. The answer was basically what we kind of already knew, which is that we have not necessarily prioritized the climbing fitness or the body composition that would allow us to climb that fast. And there's been reasons for that. We raced enduro for years. Mike's super realistic. He was basically like, Carter has more watts to kilo than you. If you lost 20 pounds, that would make a difference. But that of course comes with, right, yeah, don't just click away from that video there. That obviously comes with a lot of risk. Higher risk of injury with less musculature to protect you if you crash, decrease in descending ability if you're not as strong.
And at a point, if you start weighing less, you're basically losing muscle, so you are going to stop climbing as well also.
We both want to be really careful with how we discuss this on this channel. I think a lot of people definitely think watts to kilo is the be all end all of cycling. The idea that lighter is always better is patently false.
Especially in mountain biking.
Yeah.
In mountain biking, so much of being a good mountain bike racer is handling the terrain. Crashing happens more often in mountain biking. Like there's all these things that being stronger and heavier, I guess is what it is really beneficial in mountain biking.
Also, I think for career longevity, it may not be a coincidence that you're going into 15 years of racing pro and you've never been in the leanest 10%. For me personally, specifically making a concerted effort to gain muscle was a large part of how I was able to recover from a 1.5-year long injury. In October of this past year, we went up to Revo. We did VO2 max testing, we did a bunch of testing, all that kind of stuff. And along with Mike and Dane, we came to the conclusion that it would be beneficial for both of us to shift body composition very slightly and make an effort to lose some fat, preserve muscle.
We spent a lot of time talking about actually before we talked to Mike and Dane, because both of us want to have a healthy relationship with food. We don't want to be neurotic about tracking everything we're eating all the time and constantly worrying and, oh no, I ate too many calories.
Eating wins races.
Eating wins races, exactly. And you want to do this with a professional or multiple professionals in our situation because this is serious and you don't want to cause a problem.
After talking to Mike and Dane, we came to the conclusion that a big part of this body composition change could be accomplished by changing our training. However, we would also need to look at our diet to ensure that we were preserving as much muscle as possible. We came up with a 3-part plan, and part 1, effective immediately, was re-examining our strength training routine.
First change was switching up our gym work, our strength training, to prioritize strength over muscle mass. So basically the opposite of what the internet wants.
When I was coming off of my injury, I did go through like a 3-month period of intentionally trying to gain muscle. It was actually really hard. I had to deliberately eat differently, eat a ton. I was able to gain about 15 pounds between March of 2021 and like July of 2021. And then I think sort of maintained that weight. Maybe got a little lighter over the course of the season, but like not by that much. When we went to Revo, we stepped on a scale. We did not own a scale, so really hadn't weighed myself in like a very long time. So it was like, it's definitely 15 pounds heavier than I was, say, when I raced BC Bike Race in 2019.
And I think that was a big part of your recovery.
Definitely became clear over the course of this past year that that extra weight was not necessarily optimal for cross-country racing. However, I was still pretty hesitant to consider changing body composition because that sort of felt like my safety net from injury.
And so Dane basically said the strength is what was important for you. And you needed to gain that muscle mass to gain the strength initially, and that's how you recovered.
And I need to and will preserve quite a bit of that. I think I was just like nervous about changing the plan because that had been so helpful. The biggest change I think we've made is that we are only doing 1 heavy strength training block this winter. In previous years, we've done 2 basically. So like 2 6-week blocks. This is 1 6-week block where it's focused on super heavy. We also are substituting a lot of the heavy squats for heavy deadlifts because deadlifts do not
build muscle as much.
Do not build muscle as much. Deadlift's like pretty spread out over your whole body is my understanding, is a compound movement, so you can gain a lot of strength without changing the musculature that much. We're still doing squats, it's just not something we're necessarily progressively overloading.
Part 2, changing our diet.
Dane introduced us to Dina Griffin, who is a dietitian who works with Revo. We reached out to her, set up a call, and just kind of explained what our goals were. We want to make fairly small changes in how we fuel, change our body composition a little bit, but mostly just be healthy and make sure that we are fueling our training properly.
We knew if we were going to make any dietary changes that we wanted to do that with professional supervision. I can't recommend that enough. If you are trying to lose weight, gain weight, please work with a registered dietitian. Food stuff, I feel like for us has been kind of the third rail of the internet.
You don't want to touch it.
What we've learned through this process is something that could be very helpful if people come to it with an open mind. There is so much misinformation, there is so much crap science out there on the internet, so much fear and fear-mongering around food. We've seen this in our comment section.
You would think that when we ate Nutella during a race, that we were giving cigarettes to kindergartners.
Yeah. Bacon and Nutella pancake roll-up. We were really grateful to work with someone like Dina. She was willing to work with us with what we're already doing and without eliminating any food groups, without any restrictions, which I think was really important to both of us.
We have a pretty healthy relationship with food. We wanted to keep that healthy relationship with food while making some changes that would be beneficial to our goals.
That is delicious.
It's so good. The other thing we've been really focused on is timing our meals so that we are fueling our rides properly. This was a really big one for me. I've always had a tendency to bonk, and that has not been happening in the past couple training blocks. We learned really quickly in this experiment is that I have probably historically not been eating enough on big training days or race days.
Here's Sid, looking exhausted, next to a bag of mangoes and a food scale.
Wins races.
What was that?
Eating wins races.
So why do you look so miserable, and why are you weighing mangoes?
Well, I've had a really hard time now that we're doing double workouts. The first day that we did both double workouts and following the dietary recommendations, we were just like tracking our protein because we didn't want to get like too neurotic about it. We were just gonna do it for a couple days. And we did that. We like hit the protein goals we were supposed to hit. It was all hunky-dory. And then the next morning, I woke up at 4:30 in the morning starving. So I did a little experimentation. Our power meters tell us how many calories we burn during the bike workout, which was like 1,200 that day. And then there was also a gym workout, which was probably like 150 to 200. But anyway, my conclusion was that I was in a 1,000-calorie deficit. Which was funny because Dina had warned me not to go over a 300-calorie deficit, but I was like, la la la. I have absolutely no idea how many calories I'm eating in a day.
I'm sure it's fine.
I'm sure I'm not eating in a deficit because I'm not hungry. Wrong. Now we've been paying a bit more attention, trying to get to that like bare minimum 300 deficit. I was 250 calories below that after dinner. So we have 70 calories of mango to go. I really don't think the recommendation was like eat 3 handfuls of mango after dinner, but
You got to get your calories
I'm hoping I don't fall asleep.
before you finish your mangoes.
Mm-hmm. We did track our food. We got a food scale. We did the whole thing.
Turns out we're terrible at estimating food quantities. Terrible. So we got a scale, and now we've been weighing everything, which is ridiculous. I never thought I would weigh my food before eating it. The plan is not to do this forever, but to do this for a while so that we can get an idea of what quantities are. 180 grams of cooked farro. So that's 300.
You're being so I had no idea you would suddenly become this intensive and like actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say you definitely should have predicted that.
I was really hesitant to do this initially, but I think it actually ended up being a really good experience. We learned a lot.
How much we have to eat
Yeah.
on big training days. That was the big thing. We used to get really hungry on recovery days, probably because we were not fueling our training days. And then on recovery days, yeah, you're hungry, but
It's
you're not
a
like
normal
ravenous.
amount of
Yeah,
hungry.
exactly.
Yeah, it's really valuable to spend a couple weeks seeing what you're eating, seeing where that
that's-
calorie density is, trying to be intentional about fueling your workouts.
It was really helpful to have Dina make those recommendations, say, hey, why don't you try this, and then track it and see how it worked, and have it be like, oh yeah, this works great. I feel good.
Here are the changes we've implemented over the past few months. We learned pretty quickly that our typical breakfast of eggs and toast was actually pretty low in, well, everything: calories, protein, and fiber. Recently, we've made the swap to steel-cut oats, a large scoop of whey protein, Greek yogurt, and tons of berries and nuts on top. It's not pretty. Oh wait, that's more like it. But it's a ton of food by volume, and adding the protein powder allows us to get 30 to 40 grams of protein to start the day. Lunch was another area with a lot of room for improvement. In the past, we tended to graze on leftovers, maybe make a salad or throw together a haphazard sandwich, and we probably weren't eating enough, especially considering we were sometimes burning 1,000 to 1,500 calories in our afternoon ride. This would leave us finishing the rides frantic and hungry. Now we focus on eating a larger lunch with at least 30 to 40 grams of protein and a fair bit of carbs. Post-ride, we'll have a recovery drink or a snack of Greek yogurt or cottage cheese. We didn't have to make huge changes to our dinners, but overall we focused on choosing whole grain options like farro or barley or squash and sweet potatoes, and saving more calorie-dense options like pasta or rice for a pre-ride meal or just when we really want it. And of course, we're still eating a ton of colorful fruits and veggies. In general, we're still eating what we want with no restrictions or rules, but we're better informed and a lot less hangry. What I want to make clear is that we didn't make massive changes. We didn't diet, we didn't restrict calories, and we definitely didn't feel miserable or deprived. But we did change some simple habits, and those habits ended up making a massive difference. In fact, we're already starting to see the benefits, which is good because things are only getting harder. Part 3, ride bike more.
It is cold and windy today, so that's a treat, but sunny. So we got that going for us. Sun, come back. The last part of this equation is just riding our bikes more, which I think a lot of people are gonna be like, duh, but it's not that simple. Has to be really calculated. I think a lot of people assume if I ride 10 hours a week, I will be X amount of fit. And if I ride 30 hours a week, I will be 3X. And that is not how it works.
For most people, increasing training volume is going to make you faster. But along with that, you have to increase recovery. You have to ramp into it slowly, because if you go from whatever, 10 hours a week to 30 hours a week, you are going to die. Maybe not actually die.
Potentially get injured.
Struggle.
You might also have to decrease other things you are doing in your life.
Jobs, house renovations,
Children, those are hard to decrease.
Hard to
decrease.
But we have in general been fairly low volume, I would say, compared to many of the people that we race against. I especially have always preferred shorter, higher intensity training, and that works well for me. My body handles that well, and I see improvements doing that. But for some of the goals that we have this year, we both have to increase our training volume, but we have to do it in a smart way.
I think our biggest week, or at least my biggest week last year, was like 15 hours on the bike plus gym work.
Yeah,
so
gym work.
Maybe like 18 to 20 total.
So a lot less than what a lot of pro level racers are doing. One of the things we can do to improve our fitness and go faster is to ride more. That's what we've been doing, and it's been hard.
Good job.
Thanks, Jerry.
I don't know if you guys caught that, but Sid said Coach Mike's a jerk.
We are riding a lot more this time of year than we were last year at this time of year, so hopefully to keep that up over the course of the year. The more that we shift the ratio of training that we're doing, like gym work to bike work, that will also obviously impact body composition going forward.
Woohoo! End of line.
So now what? Well, we keep grinding, keep trusting the process, keep putting in the work, and hopefully you'll keep watching too. In a few weeks, we're heading to our first race of the season. But first, we've made one more really big change that we haven't told you guys about. That's next week's video.
Okay, so what did we just do? Uh-oh. Uh-oh.